Hey guys, this is Rachel Carmona from cypresstextiles.net, and I'm showing you the Amsterdam Square today from the 2020 VVCAL. This is actually Shapegeist Katana, but for this sample I'm going to be using Shapegeist Color Crafter and a 4 1/4 millimeter hook. And we're going to start by making a slip stitch, a slip knot, and chaining 3. You can chain 4, of course, or however many you prefer, and you can also use a magic ring. I just like to chain 3 and slip stitch into the 3rd chain from the hook. All right, and to start, we're going to make a beginning DC, which is just a single and a chain 1. So go straight into your ring for your single, no chaining up. Just go straight into the ring, make a single crochet and a chain 1, and that's going to be the first double of the round. So now we're going to make 11 more double crochet into our ring. That way we end up with a total of 12 DC, including the beginning DC. Okay, so I have 12 DC here, and I'm just going to join with the slip stitch into the beginning DC, and you're going to go into the chain part of your beginning DC with a slip stitch. Make sure your slip stitch is loose enough to go over that beginning DC. And real quick, actually, if you've never seen me explain this before, the reason I do my first double crochet like this is so that it matches all the other ones. So you can see your single really matches up with how this DC looks right here. Your chain matches up with that part, and then your slip stitch matches up with the V at the top of the double crochet. So it's just a way to make it blend in so that it doesn't look so different from the others. All right, so now we're going to chain 2, and this chain 2 is not going to count as anything. We're just going to ignore it when we join. So chain 2 and then make a puff stitch into the next double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook, and draw up a loop, and try to make this loop as tall as your chain 2. Then yarn over again, go into the same DC and pull up a loop, and then one more time. As you go, just make sure all your loops kind of stay the same height as that chain 2. And then once you have all of your loops on your hook, you're going to draw the yarn through, and then whenever you're going to make 2 chains. So the first chain is going to kind of close the puff, but I don't count that as part of the puff stitch. For my patterns, the puff stitch is complete now, and you're going to do chain 2. Okay, so now we're going to work a puff stitch into the next double crochet again 3 times, and then draw the yarn through all of the loops and chain 2, and that's our repeat. Puff stitch, chain 2, all the way around until you have 12 puff stitches. Okay, so here you can see I've got 12 puff stitches, and then I've just got chain 2 on my hook right now ready to join. And you can really tell how that first chain 2 we made in the beginning is just gonna blend in with the square. You're just gonna ignore it. So where you join is gonna be into the first chain after that puff stitch with a slip stitch, and just make sure your slip stitch is not too tight. All right, so now your round is complete. For round 3, you're going to start working directly into this chain 2 space, and you're going to make a beginning treble crochet, and that's going to be just like our beginning double crochet. It's going to be a single, no chaining up for that single, a single and 2 chains. So instead of a single and 1 chain like our beginning DC, we're doing a single and 2 chains for the beginning TR. And then just work a regular treble crochet, yarn over twice, insert your hook in the seam chain space, and draw the yarn through 2 loops 3 times. So the beginning treble plus that regular treble are going to be your first 2 TR cluster of the round. So in my pattern, this is called beginning 2 TR cluster, and all it is a beginning treble and a regular treble. And when you work into this to join your round, you're going to work into it like if it was a cluster. So you're just going to treat it like a 2 TR cluster. All right, now chain 2. Now we're going to work a normal 2 TR cluster. So yarn over twice, and where we're going to work this one is into the chain that comes right after the puff stitch. So just that first chain right there, working into the actual chain itself, not into the chain space. All right, so working into the chain itself, draw up a loop and draw the yarn through 2 loops on the hook twice, yarn over twice again, and go into that same chain, draw up a loop and draw the yarn through 2 loops twice. Now you've got 3 loops on your hook and 2 kind of partial treble stitches here. All right, now draw your yarn through all 3 loops on that hook and you've got your 2 TR cluster. And chain 2, and then your next 2 TR cluster, you're gonna work into this actual chain space. All right, so I'm just gonna make one real quick since I showed you how to do it a second ago. Okay, so chain 2. So your repeat is gonna be 2 TR cluster into the chain after the puff stitch, into the actual chain, chain 2, 2 TR cluster into the chain space. So you can see it here. You've got one into the chain itself, and then the next one into the chain space. All right, and just make sure you've got your chain 2 in between each one, and you're gonna work that way until you're finished with all of these. Here you're gonna end up having 24 2 TR clusters. All right, so you can see here that I'm finished with the round. I just have 2 chains on my hook right now, and actually, this last stitch is really easy to miss, and I almost missed it right now. So you have to make your final 2 TR cluster. If you join right now, you're gonna realize you're 1 stitch short. So you have to make your final one into this chain right after the first puff stitch from the previous round. So just go ahead and make your final 2 TR cluster into that chain. And now you have your 24 2 TR clusters. So chain 2, and we're going to join into this beginning 2 TR cluster just like if it were a cluster and not just like a regular treble like it is right here. So you're going to go into these 2 parts of the stitch with your slip stitch. Don't just work into the top of the treble or it's not going to look like the rest of the clusters. Now see how these 2 clusters pretty much look the same. So for the next round, we're just gonna work a simple 3 single crochets into each chain space. And remember, for the first single of the round, I don't chain up. So just go straight into the chain space with your first single and then just work 3 singles in each chain space around. All right, I wanna show you that after you're finished with this round, you're gonna end up with something that looks like this. So don't panic. It does curl up at this point, and so just start laying it flat and you'll realize it does flatten out pretty easily. So into, oh, I haven't joined my round yet. Let me go ahead and join into the first single with the slip stitch. All right, so now that round's complete. So for the next round, we're gonna jump into a beginning DC. So just into the next stitch, just make your single and your chain. And then we're gonna make another DC right there. All right, now we're gonna work up 2 half doubles. So into the next 2 stitches. So one half double crochet and then another half double crochet into the next stitch. So at this point, we're just working into each stitch here. We've got a beginning DC, another one, a DC, and then 2 half doubles in the next 2 stitches. Now we're gonna work over the next 7 singles. We're just gonna work 7 singles. So work 1 single into the next 7 stitches. 4, 5, 6, and 7. And make sure you keep count of these really good. Go back and check. You don't wanna have 6 or 8, and then when you get to the end, you're a stitch off, and then you have to frog it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, 7 singles. Now we're gonna make 2 half doubles. 1 in the next stitch and then another one in the stitch after that, and then a double crochet and another double crochet. All right, and now we're going to make a treble into the next stitch. Okay, so far every stitch has been in 1 stitch, so nothing has 2 stitches in it. Okay, except for the corner. The corner is where you're going to work 1 treble, chain 2, and another treble in that same stitch. At the corner is the only time you're going to work 2 stitches into 1 single. All right, so make a treble in the next stitch, a DC, and a DC in the next one as well. HDC and HDC in the next stitch as well. And we're into a repeat now, so 7 single crochet is coming up. So just to show you how this is looking, like I said, you're gonna end up having something like this, and you're gonna start freaking out that it's not laying flat, but once all is said and done, it will lay flat. Even when you lay your square here, I have this completed one, and it's kind of rippling here. It's not enough to mess it up at the end when you join them. So once you join them, you'll see everything lays flat. You can kind of push on it with your hand and you can see that it will lay flat. So once you join them up with the other ones, it's not going to matter. But as you're working with it in your hands, you are going to see that it's curling. So don't panic. Okay, so we're into our next 7 single crochet, and then I'll just back up and show you how it's looking. Okay. All right, so your repeat is essentially your beginning DC, and then your repeat is DC, HDC, HDC, 7 singles, HDC, HDC, DC, DC, treble, and then in the corner, treble, chain 2, treble. And then we're just gonna kind of go back smaller until we get to the next side. So treble, DC, DC, HDC, HDC, and then we're back at 7 DC, 7 singles, I'm sorry. All right, so just work in that manner around until you get back to your beginning DC. Okay, so I'm finished with this round. You can see my square looks all crazy. So I'm just going to flatten it out, and it's fine, as you can see. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and make our very last stitch of the round, which is a treble. So I've got my corner here, and I'm gonna make my treble crochet into the next stitch, and now we're ready to join. So we're just going to take a slip stitch into the beginning DC, into that top chain of the beginning DC there. And now our finishing up though for the last round is super simple. Just make single crochet in all of the stitches across until you get to the corner, and make 3 singles in the corner chain space. All right, so just single crochet in everything, and then when you get to the corners, 3 singles until you're back to the beginning here. All right, so I keep showing you how the square looks because I know you're gonna panic. So just press it all down. We've already done with our final round here, and you see when you just flatten it with your hand, it comes out flat. So in this little ripple here, it's not gonna matter whenever you join all your squares together, you're never gonna notice. So here is our Amsterdam Square from the 2020 VVCAL, and I've been using Shapede's Color Crafter for this sample, but the part of the VVCAL is with Katana, and you can see the kind of size difference here. So this has been Rachel with Cypress Textiles, and I hope you guys join me for the next 2020 VVCAL Square video. Bye guys.